I mean, I know my shirt's on right now, but that don't mean it's going to be on in 15 seconds.
That's why I got a button down on, Greeze. I got quick access to the chest hair.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of This Is My Bourbon Podcast, the official podcast of This Is My Bourbon Shop, where we talk about what makes bourbon the spirit of Kentucky. My name is Perry. Thank you all so much for joining me here tonight or today. I don't care when you're listening. It doesn't really matter. And joining me this week are two very special guests. I am super happy to have them on. You might know them as the Podcask. Out of Nashville, Tennessee. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
Yes, you were talking about me. Welcome.
Please welcome Will and the Greeze of the podcast.
We're here.
Yeah, Will gets like the welcome, but I mean, I don't think there's any kind of, what is it, not a double
Greeze,
entendre. What is it called, Will?
Don't try to insert your name into that. It won't come out right.
That's what I'm saying.
We're gonna give you the Greeze teens. Greetings? No, it doesn't work.
The Greeze.
Never mind.
It's close.
Are you talking?
Get points
I
for
don't know
trying.
what you're originally trying to say. Green screens?
It's a video podcast.
Man, I'm going to tell you.
Green screen.
It was supposed to be the greetings, and it turned into it was a mess. It doesn't matter. Anyway, yeah,
Seasons greasing.
Seasons greasings.
We called him.
You all out
what
there.
did we call you, Greeze, when you're sad? What did we say the other day?
I don't know.
No, Greeze.
Oh,
yeah.
no.
What was it?
Oh, yeah, the emo Greeze.
Yeah, emo Greeze.
Greaves.
Oh, right, yeah.
With a V. He grieves all the time.
Yeah. It's sad Greeze.
He can't get past it. Yeah, that's man. Greaves comes out when Greeze is on the back end of an E.H. Taylor barrel proof. Is what ends up happening.
He gets all emotional.
Man, you're only like one glass in, though.
Don't patronize me, Perry. Is that the correct use of that, Will? I don't know. You're gonna have to tell. You're gonna have to tell me if I'm being accurate.
I think it was.
Not
was
only
close. We'll give it to you.
I like that Will. We're what 5 minutes in, and Will has gone from guest to producer of the episode.
Oh yeah. Well, no, he produces me. I mean, I'm gonna call on him 9 times out of 10. I mean, we do that. I mean,
in
heck,
real
the
life.
other day we were in a MAPCO getting some scratch-off tickets, and I basically had to talk through Will just to get in and out of there without spending $100.
You just take my 20. Just take my 20.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
I can get $52 jumbo bucks.
Yeah, man.
That's what he said.
Heck, we're bound to hit the jack. I mean, here's the deal: the more tickets you play, the more likely you're going to hit the jackpot.
Well, sure. I mean,
That's what I've always said.
Law of
It's only
averages.
statistics. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So we kind of touched on it just a second ago, but as we normally do with the show here, we're going to be drinking throughout. I am sipping on some E.H. Taylor Straight Rye.
Nice.
Which was gifted to me by Swan the Bourbon Finder, my bourbon guy. Will and Greeze, what are y'all drinking on tonight?
Wait a second, you have a bourbon guy?
I do have a bourbon guy, yeah.
Dang. I wish we had a bourbon guy. I feel like we're our own bourbon guy.
We have a bourbon
Do you guys
guy.
want me to
What are
hook
you
y'all
talking
up?
about? Yes. The answer
Well-
is yes, but Greeze, we have a bourbon guy.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right.
What are you talking
we do
about?
have a bourbon guy. We do have a bourbon guy. I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get like 2 or 3 more bourbon guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get an arsenal of bourbon.
Hey, Greeze, he asked what we're drinking, so I'm going to go ahead and answer his question.
Okay.
I've got Rock Hill Farms right now.
Keeping us on track.
Dude, Rock Hill Farms is. I feel like that's just everywhere right
What are you
now.
even talking about?
I've thought the same thing.
I haven't seen Rock Hill Farms
Except
on a
in
shelf
Tennessee,
in
Will.
forever.
No, but I mean, well, okay, so everybody's posting them. One. Number two, my buddy Jay was like in, I don't know, like Minnesota the other day. He was like, hey, man, I'm at the liquor store here. And they did like a video chat with me. And I was like, whoa, go back. What is that? He's like, Rocky Farms. I was like, what are they charging for that? It was like $49.99. And I was like,
Holy
buy
crap.
it now.
So Greeze. So what I want to. Sometimes I have to interpret for the Greeze. Perry, and what he just said is that he saw people on the internet post pictures of a whiskey which they may or may not have just bought at the time, because people don't always tell the truth on the internet. But on top of that, his friend found one bottle in Minnesota. Facebook. So yeah, they're everywhere right now, man.
No, they're time stamped on Facebook. Will, when you go through it, it tells you the day and
that's
time
when they
that
posted it. But that's when people put oh, I'm putting this Pappy Van Winkle in my Diet Coke. It doesn't mean they're actually doing it, Grease.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I mean,
I never thought about it that way, did you?
No. All right, moving
so,
on.
Grease,
moving on.
Grease, what are you drinking on?
We're in allocation season right now, and so Buffalo Trace is letting go of a few high dollar items right now. So I don't have the Pappy 15. I don't have the Pappy 20. I don't have the Pappy 23, but I got this E.H. Taylor Barrel Brew.
See what he did there?
You see what I did, man?
That's a quality podcasting right there. Let me just tell you that much.
I just thought about this. The first podcast we ever did, I started off with E.H. Taylor Small Batch. And the first, my bourbon show, I did an E.H. Taylor product.
You are.
Again.
That's fantastic, actually.
I'm pigeonhole me. I'm pigeon. Is that what? Wait, is that?
Hey,
right
Perry, what he's doing is
that?
auditioning, by the way.
Yeah. When
man,
the podcast doesn't work out.
Look, man, if Curtis and Tanner fall through, we'll recruit you.
Yeah, I don't even acknowledge them at this point. So. I will say this: on the first show, I listened to the first show the other day, and at first they didn't seem like they wanted to be there. And I guarantee you right now, by the end of it, they sure as heck wanted to be there.
Bourbon has
well, by the end of that first episode,
it was almost like Perry just hit record when he had a couple of buddies over, and he was like, "Hey, y'all want to be on this show?" And they're like,
"You guys want to try something out?"
Sure, sounds good. Well, see, here's the funny. Will actually tricked me in being in our first episode too, so I can relate. Yeah, we didn't release it.
Perry, you didn't know what you're getting yourself into tonight, did you?
I didn't. But you know what? This is the beauty of podcasting, is that I like to say we're uncut and unfiltered here on This Is My Bourbon podcast. So
I hope you didn't have an itinerary because Grease won't let you.
I like what he did. I like what he did just there.
Yeah, see,
nice.
It's all about the bourbon terminology here.
Hey, Grease, what would a bourbon that's uncut and unfiltered be?
A barrel strength.
Attaboy.
Well, yeah, I was going to say something else. But, I mean, I'll give you that one. That technically, I think you answered that right.
Yeah, I know I did. What are you trying to get me to say?
I was just going to say non-chill filtered. Yeah, there you go. He knows what I was
I knew you were. I knew you were fishing for that. But I mean, here's the deal: non-chill filtered. I mean, the question is still out there: is it good or is it not? I don't know.
Well, speaking of non-chill filtered. Go ahead, Grease.
I was just going to say saying things. So. Well, I was just going to say that when there was an OWA. Actually, they just call it Weller Antique now. Sorry, I don't want to show my age around here.
You old fart.
But there was a Weller Antique pick the other day, and everybody was like, "Oh, dude, you got to go get it, man! It's non-chill filtered." I didn't go get it. And I'm bummed I didn't. But you know what? We're all out of money right now.
It's November. We're supposed to be.
Yeah. And then the wife's gonna. Here's the deal: you're gonna be out shopping, and the wife's gonna be like, "Hey, babe, we need to get so and so and so and so a gift. Is $100 okay to do?" And you're looking at her like, "No, baby. Like, I mean, 15, 20." And she's gonna look at you like, "Why?" And you're going to have to sit there and say, baby, I went in that store the other day and they had that William LaRue Weller at BTAC just sitting there on the shelf. I paid $200 for it. And she's going to be like, are you? And you're sitting there thinking, man, I got a great deal. It's a $600 trade value bourbon right now.
What has happened? What has happened, by the way? This has turned into like philosophy with the Greeze.
Well, no,
marriage counseling with the Greeze.
Well, it's not even marriage. I'm not telling you what the right or wrong thing is to do. I'm just telling you better be ready with an answer is what I'm saying. Okay? Because my answer is I went to Papa C Pies today and I stacked up on a couple of Ghirardelli chocolate pies.
Oh.
And I'm stashing them in my office. And when things get heated, I know what to do. I'm going to go upstairs, go grab them, insert them into the equation / the conversation / the table, and then she's gonna. It's not gonna be a get out of jail free card, but it's gonna simmer everything down and it's gonna take the heat off. I mean, everybody has something prepared. That's all.
Everybody's got a Ghirardelli pie.
Yeah,
is what he's trying to say.
I don't even.
And don't sit there and think your good looks counts for that because it don't.
Oh,
I've tried that.
Oh, Greeze. Oh man. Well, I was gonna say before we kind of hop into the subject of doing a whiskey podcast, that I actually did grab a bottle of a store pick Weller Antique from Liquor Barn a few weeks ago, and it also was non-chill filtered, but it was terrible.
Huh, really?
Like it was objectively bad.
That's interesting.
That's crazy. I feel like Liquor Barn would have like a good team for that, but maybe not.
See, here's the thing though. Like Liquor Barn's team consists of one guy. So like it's one guy going out with his own palette, and it is consistently hit or miss.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
They're also operating on that side of things of like, there's so much volume coming in and out of those stores that they're like, you know what?
True.
It's okay. If
I'm
it's not the best,
like
'cause
super
it's still gonna
disappointed in
move.
that because I'm a Weller Antique fanboy, and I have a lot of store picks. And while a lot of them are very different and off profile, I've not had. Well, I mean, it can't be that bad, Perry. You're showing it to me, and it looks like it's about 3/4 drunk. So,
well, this isn't this isn't my store pick. This is just the regular old Weller Antique.
Gotcha. Okay, that's just a regular one. Gotcha.
So, yeah, this is what I
love
was.
the store pick antiques because there's a lot of variance in them, which is can be a good thing or a bad thing. But I don't think I've had a bad one.
I'll send y'all a sample of this.
All right, can't wait.
You need to experience a bourbon that is absolutely nothing but ethanol.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, it is 100% not worth it.
So it's like hot off.
So you're
fresh
saying
off
this
the
guy at
still.
Liquor Barn, when he picked that pick, he may or may not have come from another distillery earlier that day. Picking another barrel.
There's a good chance of that. I mean, I would be willing to say that he'd already been dipping in a little bit before he made it to Buffalo Trace.
I've been known to make some bad judgment calls on bourbon.
But Greeze, who of us haven't?
Right.
I mean,
right.
we're all in the same boat here.
Yeah, we're not perfect.
So quickly, before we hop into our discussion topic, we're actually going to be tonight reviewing Elijah Craig Barrel Proof batch B517. And guys, I don't know if you've seen, but
I have seen it.
You have seen what I'm about to say?
Yep. Number one, man.
As of about like an hour and a half ago on November 16th, 2017, Whiskey Advocate named Elijah Craig Barrel Proof B517 batch Whiskey of the Year.
Woohoo!
Yeah, so I find it a little bit serendipitous that we're going to be...
yeah, I mean, we're super relevant on the bourbon show. Yeah, we're super relevant. In fact, we're the first one to release it. No, the funny thing is I don't have a backup of this one.
What? We're the first ones to release it.
No, I mean like a show.
Did you also like how he just completely inserted himself into like host status?
I didn't know what was going on there.
Yeah, we're the first ones to do this here on your show.
Well, that wasn't my point. My point is that I opened it and I don't have a backup, and now it's number one. So now we're just going to drink number one.
Oh man,
it's a big day for him.
So yeah. So Grease, you realize that you didn't have to just open this for me. You didn't have to open this for little old me.
Well, Perry, some people would say you're worth it. Okay, your mom for once, she told me you're worth it. You know, the jury's still out on it on my side of things, but I mean, we're leaning towards it being okay.
Look, man, I'm hoping to have you guys on again in the future, but we're also however long into this episode. We'll see how it goes, but I like to consider us mild acquaintances.
We're getting tighter. We're getting tighter. We're like the index and middle finger when you cross your fingers. You know what I mean? So we're wrapping around each other. It might not be full. It might not be a full wrap because I don't think you can physically do that. But it's a pretty good bond. It's not bottled in bond, but I mean it's
we're brothers in bourbon. How's that?
Yeah.
There you go. We're uncut and unfiltered brothers in bourbon.
There we
Barrel
go.
proof.
So I like to, as we have guests on the show, ask them the question, how'd y'all get into bourbon? So whoever wants to go first, go for it.
I'll let you. I talk to you.
I held Grease down and poured some Jim Beam down his throat one day, and he's like, "Man, that's pretty dang good." So
wait, that was you?
Yeah, that was me. I had a mask on.
Dang it, man!
You didn't even have.
Man, I thought you were some cute Belmont girl. I've had the story all wrong.
No,
we all know a cute Belmont girl. I almost went to Belmont for college.
Yeah, me too.
I did.
So
I'm just kidding. I went there. I just don't have much to show for it.
So anyway, whoever wants to go first,
I'll jump in here.
All right, cool.
So the first drink I had at college was a Bud Light, but the first drink I had at a bar in college was like the first week of my freshman year, and it was bourbon and Coke that my cousin just went up to the bar and ordered them for us. And he was like, "Here's a bourbon and Coke." And so I'd been like fascinated by, I've lived kind of all over the Southeast and always been kind of interested in Southern culture and things of the like. And so I don't know, there was something about that though, that being my like first bar drink in college, that I was like, man, that's going to be my drink now. And my parents moved to Kentucky while I was in college, so I never lived there, but I would go visit there. And my parents still live in Kentucky, so I go visit.
I was
Kentucky.
about to ask. I was about to ask. I thought that your folks still lived here.
They
too.
do, yeah, but I've never like personally. I've had a driver's license from Kentucky, but I've never actually spent more than a few weeks at a time there. And so them moving there kind of added to that mystique as well, having that I could kind of explore that when I go visit, go to distilleries and things like that. And so just kind of it grew from there, but was more of a Maker's Mark was a splurge, and Jim Beam was the college around the house, or Evan Williams, on game day. And
Right.
then when a couple years ago, just kind of started trying new things and getting a little bit more into it, and then we started a podcast about it. So
it was a very quick time jump
right
there. That,
yeah. It's like in Seinfeld, like a yada yada yada, and then
exactly.
Here I am. It's like you can't yada yada yada. You just missed the whole.
You
story.
can't yada yada through the good part.
Yeah, you can't yada yada through bourbon.
Yeah. Cool. Grease, what about you, bud?
I just moved on to this 1982 Wild Turkey, 8-year one.
Oh, are we not supposed to be drinking the other one yet?
What?
Oh no, you can move on
No,
whenever
you
you
don't
want. Oh wait, which one?
The one that we're doing.
Don't.
Oh, the
No,
actual
don't do it
review
yet.
one? No, not yet.
Oh, sorry. I haven't tried it. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no, you
this
don't
back.
try it. Man, my story's real simple. I was at the lake. My
And
buddies.
this guy with a mask appeared and poured Jim Beam down the road.
Yeah, they had a Maker's Mark. I originally
And he said, we're going to
was
do a
doing-
podcast in 15 years, and you're just going to have to accept it.
Yeah,
That's exactly
I,
Grease is going,
I had
what's a
vodka.
podcast?
I had some vodka, and I had some Jägermeister, and so my drinks of choice back in the day were vodka, Sprite, and Jaeger bombs. And so I had that at the lake, and then I ran out, and then my buddies had some Maker's Mark, and
You
so
ran out in what capacity? Because what that sounds like to me is you ran out of the house stark naked or
He
something.
ran into the lake.
Yeah, exactly.
well, that was so long ago. We didn't have camera phones back in the day, so videos and photos were not easily accessible.
So the
at
world may
time.
never know what condition you ran out in.
It's lost to
Yeah,
time, and that's okay.
Yeah, I do know that Mama Greeze came outside later on and basically took the jet ski keys away from us. So I know something along those lines happened, and this was 2 a.m. We were just jetting up and down the day.
Is that when the
my
boat
gosh.
ended up in the middle of the lake?
Yes, that was the next morning. We had to go and get our boat that was in the middle of the cove because we forgot to put the dang rope on it. We forgot to tie it up at the dock. Anyway, that night was amazing. Anyway, so I ran out, and so then I had Maker's Mark. And I didn't love it at first, but man, it's kind of like a beer on a hot summer day. Like when you're
Definitely agree.
The first time that I had a beer that I really enjoyed and liked was right after I got done cutting grass, and I was looking in the beer fridge for a water, which that doesn't make any sense. And and then there's a beer, and so I popped that open, and I freaking chugged that beer. And let me go ahead and tell you something right now. That made me feel real good. So then ever since I kind of dug beer. And so, but yeah, I mean, Makers I didn't love at first, but man, it was my drink of choice very quickly after. So that was during college. Cool. All that was during college.
Sure, yeah. We'll just accept that part of the story as being truth.
Oh no, it was. No, I mean that was legit. I mean, I was having vodka and Jaeger before
Combined
and
as
beer,
a mixed drink.
And may or may not have had some Zima along the way with some Jolly Ranchers thrown in. But
have you gone out and tried to find the limited release Zima yet? Or
you ain't got to go too far. It's still sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to grab some and get it signed by somebody important, but I didn't.
Like one of those, you could get
Just
one
any-
of the
just
like
anybody?
the Budweiser Clydesdales could sign it for you.
See, that's what I was thinking. Is that it could just be anybody important, like I don't know who the governor of Tennessee is, but
Yeah, no, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say
Harry,
like the
it's
mayor of Nashville,
Governor
or something.
Bill
Hey man,
Haslam.
can you mind signing this Zima?
No, I'm sorry. Who's the governor of Kentucky?
That would be. Oh no, I know this. Matt Bevin.
Wow. All right. Shoo.
Well, I know a
I'm
senator
gonna
from Kentucky.
Try
His name's
another
Rand
one.
Paul.
Try another one.
Yeah, you know
any
Rand
state.
Paul. Rand Paul's been in the news a lot recently.
Any state.
Oh.
Name a state. I'll tell you the governor. Tell me. I know all of them.
Arizona.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
All right.
that one's easy. Jan,
Oh,
what's
that's-
her name?
No, Grease. That was 10 years ago.
No, that's
Jan Brewer. Grease. She hasn't been in
Yeah.
office for like half a decade. Yes.
Where'd she go? What'd she do?
governor.
I thought she was like. I thought she was responsible for like ending like daylight savings time or something.
That's why we're in standard time right now. It's all thanks
Who's
to her.
ended daylight savings time?
No one.
Because I want to get on board with them. Yeah, exactly.
What do you mean?
Cool.
I appreciate y'all.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
What
Who's
do you
the
mean?
what
What
do you mean
do
to?
What do I mean? I don't know. Y'all are sitting there talking about standard time and all this other stuff with Jan Brewer, and I'm sitting there and thinking we got something to appreciate her with, and then y'all are sitting there like, oh man, she's been out of office for 5 years. Doesn't mean she didn't make her dang mark on this world.
Look,
God bless
Jan
her.
Brewer is well before my time. I'm just gonna go ahead and throw that one out there.
Really? How old am I?
How old
I
am
could
I?
have sworn she was. Wait.
Greeze, you didn't ID him before the podcast?
Is Jimmy
It's his
is Jimmy Carter the governor of Georgia still? Or am I missing something? Daggone.
No,
I heard this guy's name Sonny Perdue or something like that.
Sonny Perdue's
I
not
don't
still the
I don't.
governor
Why are we
of
talking
Georgia.
about governors? Why are we talking about governors? The only governors I really do know is on semi trucks because I sit there and pass them and wave like, "Hey, what's up? You got a governor?" And they're just sitting there, just like, "I hate that guy."
Perry, none of this is
He's
usable
like-
for your podcast. I'm very sorry.
No, every bit of it is. But we are gonna try to move on to bourbon a little bit.
Yeah, I already
specifically-
moved on, so it's you guys.
Yeah,
Sorry.
well, we'll back up when the time comes, but I want to talk a little bit because before I was actually a bourbon podcaster, and you know I use that term as loosely as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
I was a fan of the podcast.
Well, we appreciate that.
Yeah, and I mean, I you know, every week I look forward to, along with a few other shows that I follow pretty religiously.
Mm-hmm.
I always get really excited when an episode of the podcast pops up on my my iTunes podcast app. So like I don't want to get too gushy or anything, but you know, you guys were a big source of inspiration and kind of a reason to do this show before it was ever like actually realized or anything.
And now Grease is ruining all of that.
Well, I mean, this is all great and fine, but have you had crystal burgers because of the show at all?
He's trying to get a sponsor.
Because if you have, I have been successful. And Crystal, if you're listening right here, right now, because I sure as heck know y'all don't listen to our show. If you listen to this show, just understand I'm in the trenches out here pulling for you. Okay, that's all I got.
So the short answer is no, but the long answer is we don't have Crystal around Richmond, Kentucky.
Are you in Richmond?
I am in Richmond. Yeah.
So my family and I, because my parents live south of Richmond, and so a lot of times when we're driving to Lexington, because that's where you go, we stop in Richmond to eat at Thai Smile. It's a Thai restaurant.
No kidding.
Yeah,
Thai Smile is literally 3 minutes from my house.
It's fantastic. I love Thai Smile. So good. So
Fake news.
Next time that you're in Richmond, let me know, and I'll have you over, and we'll have a pour.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'd love that.
2 or 3.
Or don't let them know, and then text them afterwards and be like, "Ha ha ha!
Hey, Thai Smile is great." That's what Greece would do.
And then Perry
That's crazy,
said,
though.
Man, I had this sample of I don't know, a half bottle of Pappy 23 here, man. I know you haven't had it before. I was going to let you have a sip, and then Will's like, "Dadgummit."
Well, we just reviewed Van Winkle 10 for the first time last night, and I'd never had Van Winkle 10, but I've had everything else in the vertical of.
Will just scored one.
I did. Yeah. What do you think of it?
Oh yeah, no kidding. So last year,
trade bait.
and I've said this before on the show. Last year, I won a bottle of 12 to buy through Kroger, through their Pappy Holidays, and I really liked it at the time. That was before I had Weller 12, and I like Van Winkle 12. I don't like it as much as I do Weller 12.
Yeah.
But I like Van Winkle 10 better than I do Van Winkle 12.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean,
get that.
It has a more complex palate.
I like the proof. I like the 107 proof.
I do too. It's a better overall experience for me in terms of a bourbon than the 12 is. I think the 12 is honestly a little too hot. I think the 10 sits pretty perfectly on the palate. But I gave it a pretty high score. So on the show, we kind of developed this rating system recently of 4 different categories for our review section. And it's nose, palate, finish, and price. And overall, I gave it a 16 out of 20.
Okay.
Because each category is out of 5. So, 16 out of 20 is really
good.
pretty
Yeah,
high.
it's
I
not bad.
rated I rated William LaRue Weller higher than I did Pappy 10. But, the William LaRue Weller is in an entirely different category, I think, because it's older, it's uncut, unfiltered, and all that good stuff.
Right. Right.
But I honestly, if I could find Van Winkle 10 as an everyday sipper, I absolutely would. Imbibe. So anyway, that's I don't even remember what we were talking about before we got into this, but
We were talking about Ty Smile.
I'm officially pouring this.
Ty
Craig. I just poured the stuff that we're supposed to drink.
yeah,
I'm just going to look at it until you tell me when we can drink it.
Oh, I've already had it. It's
So-
really good.
I know you
Yeah,
have, Will.
Well, it was named Whiskey of the Year by Whiskey Advocate, so it's got to be at least a little bit decent. I poured a little bit too. I'm gonna let it sit like Greeze is. But before we get to that, I definitely want to talk about actually having a bourbon podcast and the kind of like niche market that we are sitting in. And like I don't want to. I always think of having something like a bourbon or whiskey podcast as being a community.
Yeah. Right.
And I try to. I've mentioned the podcast on the show a couple times before now, before actually having you guys on, and saying go and check them out, because I think that each show provides something different to the experience of listening to these reviews, or it's all different forms of entertainment.
Right.
So I want to kind of bring it down to a more origin level. Why'd you guys start doing the podcast?
Will
I
came
told
up
Grease
to
he
me.
had to.
Yeah, so
I work in radio production.
Oh, cool.
And so I've always loved audio entertainment that's not music, I guess is the easiest way to describe that, because you can't just say radio now. But a lot of times I use the term radio, and I mean podcasting as well.
Do you shy away from the term like shock jock?
Well, I don't work in shock jock radio.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Good.
So yeah, but
Yeah.
So and I had I guess it's a natural extension of that. Like, I love what I do, and so it's it's work is not a chore for me. So I'm always looking
Sure.
at other avenues to explore and things of that nature. And I produce and work with some other podcasts as well. And so Greeze and I were talking, and we're like, hey, we should just do a podcast about whiskey. And it kind of, and did some very basic research, and it kind of, a lot of bourbon podcasts all kind of came about roughly around the same time. But at the time, they're really, Bourbon Pursuit was really like the only one out there when we decided to launch. And so we did it pretty quickly. And Greeze always likes to say, I said, hey, Greeze, we're doing a bourbon podcast. And the only thing I want to say is, like, how'd I say it, Greeze? You say it better than I do. What was that one instruction I gave you? It was like the only thing I said.
Of course I do. You just basically said, nothing's off limits. I just need you to talk. I don't know what you said. You basically just gave me free reign.
I think
to
I
talk
said,
about
like,
whatever I wanted to talk
whatever
about.
pops in your head, you're allowed to say it.
That was it.
So
yeah,
we
the
did
first
that,
thing
and
that comes to your head, you're allowed to say it, and I like got big old wide eyed.
And I told Greeze, hey, come over, we're going to do a test run, but he didn't know it wasn't actually a test run. So we did an episode, and then I just put it up, and we started from there.
So
and
you really did kind of trick him into doing the very first episode.
Yeah. I was like, hey, let's just test it and see how it goes. And we did a 30-minute show, and then we put it up, and that was the start of it. So, and I do want to touch on one thing that you were kind of saying, how it's niche and it's more of a community. And this is from my perspective of a radio producer. A lot of people think of podcasts as, on-demand internet radio, which I guess in theory it kind of is, but I can't produce like podcasts the same way that I produce like talk radio in another medium. That it's not radio on demand as much as it is another social network. And I think of podcast is like very social media, and that term doesn't normally get applied to podcasts, but you can put a show out there, but unless you're in that community and having a community feel and meeting people like we're doing now, like it's not going to go anywhere, and you're also not going to have a lot of fun because you're going to feel like you're talking to no one. And I don't know. So that's one big thing I always tell people. I was like, well, it's really a social media, and a social medium rather. And we do that. That's kind of one thing that we've learned from is like I've gained probably per if you were looked at every year of my life, I've gained the most friends in the year and a half we've done the podcast rather, than I have like any other individual span of that time. And they're people I truly consider friends. So it's that's really the biggest upside for me has been the friendship and the community that we've gained. And
there was one time I ran through Walmart with my shirt off, and I think I gained more friends in that moment.
No, Greeze, those were restraining orders. Those weren't friends. Yeah. You're not.
I'm amazed that there isn't like a T-shirt for the podcast of Greeze just bare chested, and
Don't give him ideas. That'll happen if you say it.
Look, man.
I mean, we've made shirts with less inspiration.
One of the reasons that like this show kind of happened was because, I am primarily a graphic designer, So, like, I already had the shop going for bourbon-themed apparel and all that. So, like, you know, I kind of brought that down to a serious level, but let me just say, Greeze, that's definitely possible.
Greeze, take your shirt off right now so he knows what you look like, and he'll design it. I'm just going to sit back and watch how this unfolds.
I don't,
Oh man, I don't even want to think about what the hashtag would be. You know what I mean?
Hashtag Grease Chest.
Goodness gracious.
Oh, I like that one. Oh, that's a good one. So
Yeah.
Grease, why did
I've had that one in my pocket for a while.
I'll send it to you.
Chris Thomas has too.
I'll donate that shirt design
I have
to
a
you.
prepared statement.
Let me back up for a second before we talk to you a little bit, Grease, about why you wanted to get into the show. I really enjoy listening to episodes like Grease's prepared statement.
Yeah.
And then the follow up to that,
Which may or may not have been prepared by Will.
I don't know.
you know, hold on, my phone fell down. Sorry, I'm trying
Yeah.
to. I love continuity and stuff like that, and I think that you guys have done a real good job of. And I don't mean this in this. I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound negative, but I like the characters, I guess, that you guys have. You guys have kind of become, throughout the.
I think we've done a decent job with a different aspect, and that's another side of this whole thing, and it's called storytelling. It's like
Definitely.
we have, and you're talking about the continuity, between each episode and stuff like that. I mean, yes, are we building on our knowledge from day one? 110%. But I mean, we're also trying to give, I mean, like Will said, Bourbon Pursuit. I mean, if you need information, if you want to hear, a master distiller talk about mash bills and and the bourbon economics of the business, like, man, that's a great show to listen to.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Definitely.
Now, the thing about podcasts is like you got to bring a different element to it. And from day one, Will was just like, and it's the only reason he brought me on. He's not going to bring me on to tell facts. You know what I mean?
Lord knows.
We would just talk about, we'd come to work every day and on Monday or Tuesday, and Will would ask me, like, hey man, like, did you try any new bourbons over the weekend? And we would just chit chat, and we just kind of took that element, and just hit the record button. And, it's story first. I think our show is more entertainment first with a basis of bourbon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like that,
we're having a great time, and I think that way we're not going to get too burnt out on it. You know what I mean? Because I mean,
definitely,
it's tough stuff doing like a weekly show. I mean, Will's editing, till the wee hours of the morning sometimes. Especially, when I go off on the rails like I'm doing right now. But I mean, there's a lot of work to it, man. Like keeping up with social media, posting daily, connecting with distilleries, connecting with, your listeners, like to maintain and to progress. I mean, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of work. But the great part about it is we're, instead of necessarily talking about bourbon, I mean, our listeners, we've got this group called the Podcasters, and I mean, half of the banter in there is basically talking about what the crap I said about a week ago.
Yeah,
And I'm
exactly.
having to listen back. I'm having to listen back to the episode just to know what the heck they're talking about, because 9 times out of 10, I don't remember what I say, and but I mean, yeah, I mean,
that's
so there's
because we're
that
drinking
element to
bourbon,
it.
Grease.
exactly.
real good bourbon. But I mean, so there's, that's kind of what we've done, and Will had the vision for it, and like every day I freaking just am like, man, like without Will this doesn't happen, and like it's one of my favorite things that I've ever been a part of, and I don't take it lightly.
How do I turn my
like
camera off? I'm crying.
Well, and like Will said, he's met some of the coolest and most friends, in this year.
Sure.
And man, I mean, it's right up there for me in that department for sure. I mean, there's some great dudes, there's some great people. The generosity aspect of this whole thing is just stupid. Like it's just like, I mean, we'll have 6. I mean, there was one time one guy sent us all 10 recipes of 4 roses. Just like, here you go, man. This will be fun for the show. Okay, yeah. Thanks, bro. This bottle right here, I am 99% sure this came from Bourbon Spartan.
I want to clarify because this is still an audio medium.
I'll let you do that. I'll let you do that.
Greeze is holding up the bottle of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof batch B517.
That we're about to taste.
Which we're about to actually dive into and everything.
This show doesn't happen without our generous
friends.
listener.
Greezerosity is what I call it.
Or Michigan. I don't think he's in Detroit, but anyway, boys, I've been looking at this way too long. When we drinking this?
So
when we gonna
let me take a little sip of water real quick because where's my water? Yeah, well, Will jumped ahead of the curve and everything.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
But it's all right. It's an this is a fairly new podcast, so if you're not familiar with the form and everything, you're bound to make mistakes.
It's true.
Will.
It's true.
Yeah. I
what?
make at least 3 or 4 mistakes by the time I brush my teeth there.
Normally I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, I have to be super on point because I don't want to have to edit both me and the Greeze. But now that it's all on you, man, hey, I'm just cutting loose tonight.
Oh, man. You know what? I was up until like 1:30 last night editing an episode. So, I know what you're saying, but
yeah.
I just want to before we get to the actual review, I just want to say that I'm happy to be a part of this community that you guys have really I think built up. I think you all have really been an integral stepping stone towards shows like This Is My Bourbon Podcast being possible, because like we're not just trying to be the Bourbon Pursuit,
right?
We're not trying to be the Bourbon Daily. We're not trying to be the Bourbon Show, and I'm not trying to knock the ABV network or the Bourbon Pursuit by any means, because what they do is really interesting and really unique. But I just enjoy this. I enjoy this little community that we have of like friends getting together and drinking bourbon and talking about what makes it so special. So in that spirit, I would go ahead and say cheers to you guys, and thank you all for paving the way. And on that note, let's go ahead and jump into the review for the episode, which is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof. I've said this like 100 times this episode, but it's Elijah Craig Barrel Proof batch B517, which was just named about 2 hours ago by officially by Whiskey Advocate as the bourbon of the year. I probably poured too much. For a
because
looks like an opportunity.
Greeze gave me a 2-ounce sample, and I only poured about half of it so I could enjoy some later.
Yeah, sure. I like the idea of being able to go back a little bit throughout the review and be able to understand it. So as I said, we have 4 categories of review on the show. It is nose, palate, finish, and price. So as we kind of go through each step of that, keep that in mind as we're experiencing this bourbon. But what do you guys think about the nose on this so far?
Man, okay, nose for me. I honestly thought that I was about to dive into something finished. There's like this kind of like a drier wine nose to me on this.
Like a dried fruit kind of thing. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't, that normally doesn't stick out to me like that on the nose. Like that's a normal palate thing or a finish thing for me.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what I got off of it.
Yeah.
See, I'm getting a lot of oak coming through for me. I'm tasting that age.
Oh, there's tons of oak.
Or like
for sure.
smelling the age rather than tasting with the nose.
Now,
nose tasting it.
Keep in mind too that this is just a 12-year-old bourbon. For everybody at home. Also, I want to point out, I like to make sure that everybody is aware that we're all drinking out of the same style of glass. We're all sampling out of Glencairn glasses for the purpose of this review. Yeah.
And just because we talked about it earlier, this is non-chill filtered. It says it on the bottle.
Uncut, unfiltered, 12-year-old bourbon. And
what's the proof on it?
The proof on it is 124.2. Yeah. So we probably should have established this earlier on, but typically when when Will and the Greeze are recording for the podcast, they're in the same room, but they are not tonight. So everything's being kind of pasted together, I guess, for this episode.
It's basically an open invitation for both of us to get a little loosey-goosey.
Exactly.
We're at the house.
Exactly. So Greeze provided a sample of this barrel proof to Will for this, the purpose of reviewing this episode. So anyway, just to kind of run through the numbers. And
I'm his sugar mama, in case anybody doesn't know that. Is that the way to say that? Or is it baby daddy? No, I'm not your baby daddy. I'm
your
your
sugar daddy.
Mama.
Sugar daddy of bourbon.
Oh,
you're my mama Greeze.
I do.
Greeze, what's the
Mama
name
Greeze?
of the concoction that you all make every summer? I cannot remember it.
Summer Brew.
Oh, we just call it summer.
Summer Brew. Okay.
I've never had it, but
Yeah,
and for people who
we call it summer brew. And let me go ahead and tell you, man, you gotta tread lightly with that stuff.
So for people who
got to,
we're again skewing off of the topic, but for people who have not listened to the podcast, what are the ingredients in the summer brew?
Okay, you take a frozen Minute Maid lemonade concentrate and you pour it into a pitcher, frozen. Then
if it's frozen, don't you just dump it? How do you pour
okay,
frozen?
Fine, you dump it. And then you take.
It's a 45-minute process involving
container.
a torch
and a hairdryer.
You have to melt it. Yeah, a hair dryer.
All right, so you take the open container and you pour vodka in it. I don't care what vodka. My mom raves about Sky, and I don't even think. Here's the deal: don't spend money on vodka. There's zero reason to spend money on vodka. Just get vodka. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree.
So anyway,
I agree.
They fill it up. You pour it in a pitcher. And
my joke was lost on y'all.
Anyway, then you take 3 Coronas in the bottle, and then you pour it in there. And then you're good to go. Just mix it all up, start drinking it. I'm telling you right now, it don't make a ton. Okay? So you got to be careful. It doesn't make a ton. It doesn't, I mean, so if 2 people finish off that pitcher, you could be in for trouble. And that's why the last time my mom and I got together and we had that, there was 2 shark incidents.
Which you can hear on the story of on what was that? That was like 5 or 6 weeks ago on the podcast.
When Mama Greeze came up.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so we're attempting to review the whiskey of the year by Whiskey Advocate, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
I mean, I've been drinking it for about 30 minutes now, so I
Sure,
love it. It's
yeah.
real good.
Will's got a real good idea of what he feels about it. Will, have you already finished off your glass?
No.
Will's had about an hour. Oh gosh.
No, I've got I've only had about a half an ounce of it. So
Okay, so do y'all have water readily available?
I can go fetch some, but I don't have any right here. Do I need
Well,
some?
The reason I ask is because, like, with something this high proof, I like to add like a couple drops in just to see what it does to the overall experience of the bourbon.
You know what I would say about this though? It is high proof, but this does not drink like 124.
Oh no, not at all. Not at all.
It's drinking
I think
like
this
a
is
110, like a good Russell's Reserve. You know, that's what it's got that smoothness to it, and I mean the age is wearing well on it. I know it's age stated. I know it's age stated 12 years, but I could see there being some older whiskey in this batch.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think that it, there's something really mature about this bourbon. And I'm really happy with it. I don't think that the oak overpowers the overall flavor though.
No, personally, and I mean I may be jumping ahead, but it has that flavor that is like so traditional bourbon flavor. There's so many things out there now that it's almost trying to differentiate themselves. Like, this one's super spicy because it's a high rye mash bill, and not that high rye mash bills haven't been around for forever, but I don't know. I just feel like the flavor profiles of a lot of bourbons these days are across the board. The spectrum is widening, and
Sure.
This to me just has something very classic about it that I really am enjoying when I drink it. And like you said, I'm getting a good oak flavor to it, but it's not just like an oak bomb or something that's throwing me off.
Sure. Yeah.
That's my palate for sure right there. This is just it's very home to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing on the palate that I'm not sitting there saying, "Whoa, this is so special." I'm not, but I'm also not saying that this is, man, this is not up to par. This is a very good bourbon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But there's not like an oily, thick, texture to it. It's just, it just sits there right at home. It's a great barrel proof, good proof for me. I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the palate there. It's just it kind of lands home.
Yeah, and I've said for a long time too that Elijah Craig is one of those bourbons, and I pair that with like Buffalo Trace as being a real traditional flavor. Mm-hmm. And I think that this barrel proof in particular really brings out a lot of those traditional. Yeah, the traditional kind of palate that comes with bourbon.
Yeah, the vanilla, the caramel, and the oak, like just kind of in a little bit, just ever so slight nuttiness to it.
Yeah,
is kind of what
definitely.
I get.
Definitely, I drink this and I go, this is the perfect marriage between all the aspects of what I want in a bourbon. So. I'd say we go ahead and before we jump into the numerics of it, I bought this bottle for $65. Grease, what did you pay for yours?
That's the retail, right? That's like 65 is MSRP, I think.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, this one was free.
That's right. Sorry.
The A batch that I got was $59.90. No, yeah, $59.99.
That's not bad. Yeah. Okay.
And
So
that was at my cousin's shop in Clayton, Georgia, Smitty's.
small shout out to Smitty's there.
Yeah, small shout out to Smitty's.
So I say we go ahead and make that a $60 price point.
Yeah, that's fair.
So Will, do you want to go ahead and give your 4-tiered review for this bourbon?
Right. So it's nose, palate, finish, price. Is that right? Just to make sure
sir.
I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's out of 5, 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Nose, I'd say it's a 5. It's I like the oak I was getting out of it, and I think I almost think less is more on the nose to me. It wasn't something that was like just blowing my mind. Like I did get some of the dried fruit you guys were talking about, but it wasn't something like, oh my gosh, I'm smelling so many crazy things. I don't know. It was just comforting nose is probably the way I'd put it. It smelled like a good bourbon, and I liked that I was getting the oak on it. So I'd give it a 5. Palate, I think like we were talking about, just how it's the high proof was not overpowering. It drank like a it drank like a lower proofed bourbon. It has a lot of maturity, a lot of oak. I'd give that a 5. The finish, I am not super thrilled with. It's kind of short for what I was thinking. I will drop that at a. Can you do halves?
We like to round up, but
okay, I'll do a 3. I was going to do 2.5, so I'll round up to 3.
Okay.
And then the price I'd say is 4. So I'm giving it a 17 total. And the price, the one thing I mean, it's still $60. So that's, you're still having to shell out some money for it. But I would say, compared to single barrel picks of Four Roses, which I love, that are, barrel proof, single barrel, but there's a lot of variance in it. I like this. I like the consistency you're going to get out of knowing what's coming out of the batch at that price point, and that's about the same price as a Four Roses single barrel. So I give it a 4. I don't think I'd ever give like a $60 bourbon like a straight up 5 unless it's just something that completely obliterates the competition. But yeah,
I want to clarify something real quick. You just said Four Roses single barrel for $60.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not
the barrel strength.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure that you weren't talking
barrel
about
strength.
Okay, yeah. I wanted to make sure you weren't talking about just the basic.
No. The regular
barrel.
one is significantly less money.
Yeah, I would like
specifically talking about the different recipes of barrel picks. Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you can find them, the single barrel, cask strength picks for 55.
Sure.
But yeah, for the most part,
you're not talking about I'm not talking about the
$35
$35 single barrel. No.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to make sure before, because I was like, if
Perry was like, "Man, y'all are getting screwed down there in Nashville."
Come up to Kentucky. Stop buying Four Roses single barrel down in Nashville. I mean,
right.
Anyway, okay. So overall, you said 17 out of 20.
17. Yep. Which,
okay,
I mean,
cool.
that's a good score. I like it.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. Grease, go for it.
Okay. The nose is a 4, and I don't know how to charismatically rate this. I don't know if that's the way to say this. Let me go ahead and tell you right now. The nose is one of my favorite things. I'm picking up some interesting things in the nose that I don't normally, and that's dried fruit that y'all clarified with me. So, but man, I really enjoy that. I'm going to say that's a 4. The palate, I'm also going to say that, man, I debated on whether to make that a 3 or a 4 to me. I think I'm going to make it a 3 only because it's pretty standard. And like I would, and which I love, there's nothing wrong with the normal. With this product, I would just expect a little bit more from it. You know what I mean? Like I'm looking for,
Sure.
Thick leather, just like oily. I'd love to pick up on that. And I don't pick up on that on the palate or the finish. The finish to me lasts longer than Will says. But I actually do like the finish pretty good. I'm going to give that a 4. So I've got a 4 on the nose, a 3 on the palate, 4 on the finish. The finish it lasts long. It doesn't blow my ever-loving mind.
Sure.
One of my favorite finishes that I've had recently is the 2017 George T. Stagg. And and it's not as good as last year's, but it's pretty dang good. But I love the finish on that. That's like the saving grace of the bottle to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, this finish, it lasts good. It just doesn't wow me, But I will give it a 4. I like the length of the finish because I feel if I can experience a bourbon, 10 seconds after I've had it and I'm still trying to slosh around a little bit, like, man, it's still with me. That's worth notating. And then on the price, man, it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good price point. It's a pretty standard price point for me. I will say this, man. If you go to Heaven Hill and go to the gift shop and they have these in stock, they're selling them for $74.99. And I'm going to say this. It is not $74.99 is high.
Yeah.
That's why we said 60.
And I would probably. I know. But I'm saying, Heaven Hill's valuing it, higher.
And Heaven Hill puts up that what is it? The disclaimer that says, as does every distillery in Kentucky, that is like, we're not trying to compete with local liquor stores or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And two, they're, when everything's dried up at the liquor stores, they still have it, so they're going to sell it, and they're making bank on it.
Yep.
And because they're marked up on top of retail at that point, and if retailers are making money off of it, then they're making a lot of money off of it being higher than that.
Yeah.
That's
price,
Bourbonomics,
man, I'm gonna say the price is confusing to me. I'm gonna give the price. I'm gonna give a price of 3. So we're gonna round this bad boy out at 14. I think is that what my number is?
6 and 8.
I did 4.
Yeah,
that's 14.
3, 4, 3.
So Greeze is going with the 14 out of 20.
Yeah, one thing you'll learn about the Greeze is he's actually a lot more critical of whiskey than I am.
I think that's fair. I like that.
Man, yeah, I am, dude. We tried this, and it's coming out this next week. We tried this Wyoming whiskey, man, and
I saw that on the group.
Yeah, and man, like I need to revisit some things. Like I feel like half the time I'm a little bit too harsh on it, but man, when I hit something that's just like lights out. Like I freak out and I can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
I will say this: there's definitely a portion of people out there that, and everybody's palate's different. But I think like Will hits on people's palates pretty good on our show. Perry, I'm sure like on your show, like people are like relating to your palate. And then there's also There's also a different, and so like different people are going to have different palates, but I think there's like some percentages out there, like, man, Greeze hit the nail on the head. Like, Will didn't like that, but Greeze did, so I
Yeah.
tried it. Man, it's great,
Definitely.
Like, so, I mean, there's different people out there. It's important, and what I've learned in, like, the bourbon whiskey industry, with people like Bernie Lubbers and Fred Minnick and, like, these people out there
Definitely.
that are, ambassadors for whiskey, I don't line up with Fred Minnick. I mean, honestly, and I'd probably say more times than not, I don't. And that's okay. Like, I like Fred Minnick as a guy. I think he's a great writer. I think he's a great advocate for whiskey. It's just important, like, to find somebody out there. And I don't want to say of influence, but I will say this. If I had a guy that I was like, oh my gosh, that palate's amazing. Jeff Schwartz is my palate guy. He is up in Wisconsin.
Jeff
He writes
Schwartz is
for Burn
awesome,
and Banter.
I love Jeff.
Yep.
Dude, he's freaking great.
Jeff
and
is
here's
fantastic.
the deal. Jeff Schwartz, 9 times out of 10, is going to save me money. And if you can find a guy out there that, you respect and you enjoy and you relate to his palate, and if you're questionable on something, you could ask that person, or if you hear or see him write about it, then you can take it to the bank, save yourself a little money and heartache.
Yep.
And 9 times out of 10, I mean, everything he chooses, I freaking love it. It's great.
I get that because I'm gonna throw back to It's Bourbon Night on YouTube. A lot of what my palate falls in line with is the same thing that Sarah on It's Bourbon Night likes. Sorry.
So
yeah,
you like Evan Williams' 1783 then?
I do actually like 1783 quite a bit. Yeah. I went into it like, oh, I'm not gonna like this very much, and as soon as I tried it, I was like, yeah, this isn't too bad.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anyway, no, I get what you're saying there, Grease. I'm gonna give my review of the bourbon here real quick. Nose, I would probably give it a 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that it is too overly impressive. It has some of the things that I like in terms of, like, traditional bourbon notes on noses and everything. On the palate, I think I would definitely give it a 5. Just because it brings everything together in such a really succinct and beautiful way.
Well, it's hard not to give it a 5 for you when you say this is everything that I want in a bourbon.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it
does, man. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a great. The mash bill is pretty standard. I feel like I don't think there's anything wonky out there.
Sure.
You throw it barrel.
Well, it's weird though is that they use
non-chill
use rice instead of corn, so it's a really weird mash bill Grease. But yeah, it's pretty standard.
What?
Nothing.
What?
I'm just. That's how you
What?
mess with the Grease. That's all you do.
What?
Oh, freaking A. Rice, Will. Rice?
I was
Yeah.
freaking out there for a second
not
too. I
dealing
was
with,
like,
It
who
couldn't
uses-
be bourbon if there
it
wasn't
doesn't matter.
corn. Come on, guys. Come on.
Oh, man. This
jeez.
is. Wait, hang on. Isn't sake? Isn't that kind of like a rice-based wine?
Yes.
Sake, yeah, it's a rice wine.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. This ain't sake.
Yeah. Anyway, so I gave it a 3 on the nose. I gave it a 5 on the palate. Finish, I'm going to give it a 4. Just because I get a lot more of the heat than I do anything else. But I still hang on to a lot of, like, the chocolate and the nuttiness of it that is pretty prominent throughout the bourbon. And again, I paid like $60 or $65 for it. So as far as price goes, I'm gonna give it a 4. So what did I go? I went 3, 5, 4, and 4.
Uh-huh.
Right.
18. No,
So
Can I change
can't
my
add.
price
No,
number
that's
to
6.
4?
Wait. 3, 5, 4, and 4. That's 16.
16.
Yeah.
I said
Was
18.
Can I change my price thing to 4? Here's the reason why. A
Yeah, sure.
12-year-old
Go for it.
non-chill filtered product at barrel strength, single barrel. Wait, this ain't a single barrel. This is a small batch. Yep, nope. I'm sticking with a 3.
Oh
if
my
this was a
gosh.
single barrel
Greeze,
product,
you're ridiculous.
I'd give it a 4. I know I'm ridiculous.
I like small batch
even
more than single barrel most of the time.
Oh, I like it's more consistent. It's more. I don't know. It's more my
Right. If I'm just going to go buy an Elijah Craig barrel strength off the shelf, I'm probably going to want it to be a small batch. But if it's someone I know that picked it, that I know I like their palate, then I'll be fine with the single barrel. I prefer small batch stuff.
Do y'all find the barrel proof pretty often on the shelf?
No. This is hard. It's hard to find.
Yeah.
I've never seen it on the shelf in Nashville.
No, I
100%.
Yeah,
never see it
I've only
in
snagged
Kentucky.
it from folks that are like, "Hey, do you want it?" So
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah,
Right.
you have to stumble upon it, and you have to let your friends know that you want it.
Yeah, exactly.
that you're looking for
Good
it.
deal. So I want to segue into what I like to call recommendations, which is just kind of if you guys have something that you have been enjoying, it doesn't have to be bourbon or alcohol based over the past few weeks, and you want other people to enjoy that. What would you recommend?
I'm gonna let Greeze take the reins first on this one.
I think I probably know what Greeze is going to recommend, but
Good cut point here. I was texting with my wife. She's so I'm gonna need you to ask me that question again.
no, I'm going to leave that in. I'm going to leave
that's
that
not
in.
a cut point, Greeze. That's
All right.
No.
Fine.
That's staying in. Grease, out of anything that you have enjoyed over the past week to whenever, what would you recommend to people? And I'm not trying to simplify it down to bourbon or to alcohol or whatever.
Are we talking about price here?
Oh no, dude. No, I'm
just like whatever.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, if you've got a favorite TV show, if you've got a favorite, your Crystal Burgers or whatever.
Oh well, but yeah. I mean, crystals. I'd stay clear of those doubles with cheese that Bearded Dram gave me the other day. But other than that, no,
Call
man.
back.
I'm so. I finally got a bottle of Blanton straight from the barrel. It's freaking brilliant. It is fantastic. I've got this 1982 8-year-old Wild Turkey. It is fantastic in its own little way. And the other thing that I'm really loving right now, actually a couple more things.
How many recommendations do you have, Grease?
That's the beauty of this segment is it just doesn't matter.
I mean, when
Grease, I'm clear. I'm mid haircut right
well,
now.
he said the last week. He said the last. You didn't say what I liked yesterday. I mean, what I liked yesterday. All right, so the George T. Stagg this year is fantastic. I'm telling you right now, one of the better finishes I've had in a long time. And then an all-around beautiful, beautiful product is going to be that Al Rye. I love that Al Rye.
I love the rye. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Everything Grease has said is alcohol related, so I still don't know if you heard the full like premise of this segment. But
like what I like and just regular stuff. Now and laters. I love now and laters.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
The candy.
Yeah.
Like cherry, lime, and grape. I mean, rotate them out accordingly. But man, those things are solid, dude. I love those now and laters, and I love deer jerky. I got some bros that are going
deer
hunting
jerky.
soon,
Is that what I
'cause
heard?
I don't have deer jerky.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure that I was clear on that.
You can't legally buy it. Well, I guess you can't legally sell it. But here's the deal:
I think you can in Kentucky, but
you got to find a buddy that that just scored a buck or something or a doe. I don't know what's in season right now, but man, when there's something else about that deer jerky, I freaking love that. It's way better than Slim Jim. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that right now.
Will, what do you have to recommend?
Okay, so I'll do a whiskey product after, but first, I think, and it's actually been out for a couple months, but everyone, if you want to watch a fascinating miniseries, everyone should watch The Murder of Laci Peterson. It was done by A&E, and
Nice.
it will make you question everything you know about media, that entire story, which, if you know anything about it, you're probably like, oh, yeah, Scott Peterson just killed his wife, and now he's serving life in prison. Really fascinating, really well done, and everyone should check that out. So I'll recommend that. I tell everyone to watch that because it was pretty mind-blowing, and I don't think it got enough press, and it was a really good show. And whiskey-wise, I would say... let's see. What do I recommend that I've really been loving? I'm a really big fan of the Willet 3-year Rise.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
good
I
stuff.
think it's a really good value. I really like the Peerless Rye, but you can get a 3-year rye that is almost as good for $50. And I really like it. So
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I side by he made me side by side those, and they were both very unique and very good in their own ways.
Cool. I am going to recommend. What am I going to recommend?
Thai
This
Smile.
bottle of Thai Smile in Richmond, Kentucky. Come and visit us. We'd be happy to hang out with you. There are some good liquor stores in Richmond as well. Liquor World, Liquor Mart. What is it? It's not Liquor Corner.
There's one that's a
d-
drive-through right across the street from Thai Smile.
Oh, that's Liquor Mart. Liquor
Yeah,
Mart
yeah,
1.
yeah.
There's 2 Liquor Marts in Richmond. That's getting into a whole nother conversation and everything. Yeah, come check out Thai Smile. I'm trying to think. I've been listening to a lot of Miles Davis recently.
Nice.
Listen
You
to
drew them. I saw you drew them on Facebook.
I did.
earlier.
I was kind of. I was a little bored in in my jazz history class, and I was like, I'm just gonna draw Miles Davis. It doesn't matter. Listen to some. Listen to some Miles Davis.
Where are you going to school?
Eastern Kentucky University
Yeah,
in
Will's
Richmond,
got it.
Kentucky.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Cheapest.
Is it the Minutemen? Is that your mascot?
No, our mascot is the Colonels.
Colonel. I'm an idiot. Like, why did I
Yeah.
not think
There's
Kentucky Colonels?
there's Minutemen Press, yeah, or printing or whatever in Richmond, but that's a whole nother graphic design conversation. Anyway, so I'm gonna cap it off at Thai Smile and whatever else I said. I don't remember. Doesn't matter.
Miles
Will
Davis.
Will and Greeze. First off, I want to say thank you guys so much for being on the show. I really appreciated it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
We've been on a lot longer than I thought we were going to. Earlier in the week, Greeze
Just
was
let it ride, dude.
Yeah, Grease-
Just when you got a long show, you just let it ride. That's what I tell Will. Will's like, man, we got to shorten this thing up. I'm like, no, man, just let it ride.
Hey, I do want to say this because for all of you folks that hung with us, I'm mid haircut right now. My
Are you
wife
really?
is like, she's like, honey, you need a haircut. And so I was like, okay. So she starts cutting my hair, and we get to like, and that's why I'm like, I need a couple more minutes. And then I come up here, and she just texted me and said, I'm ready to finish your hair. So
and y'all are hanging out around like 11 p.m. right now.
we're good. We're good.
Guys, if they want to find you guys on social media, podcast or otherwise, where can they find you?
At the podcast on basically any social media platform, and by that I mean Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or go to the Podcask podcask.com, and that's where
Well, you got to do the too, right?
I
Or
said
no?
the. I said,
Well, but you didn't spell the, and so that would be
okay, so the website is thepodcask.com.
Yep.
And that
there's
has
the-
links to our social media and also to you can listen to the shows there as well.
I like that the producer basically switched from Will to the Greeze.
It happens most days.
Yeah. Well, okay. I will say one more thing.
All right, go.
The and Perry's a part of this
He is,
too, and so this is an important addition. On our Facebook page is fine. Like us on there, that's great. But there's this group called the Podcasters. And you got a request to join us, and man, it's kind of just taken on its whole new realm. Like I don't even know. I mean, Will and I comment as much as we possibly can. We post when we can, but I mean, it's pretty much like just like listener ran at this point. Like,
hey, and Greeze, did you notice what I did? I linked our Facebook page at the podcast.
I saw that.
I linked it to the Podcasters group, so it's easier to find.
I saw that.
oh.
Like if you like the Facebook page, it's linked so you can find it.
That's why every time I try to post in there, I have to like tell it, no, I'm not the podcast.
Right.
I'm the real.
I mean,
Grease.
you can
I wanna
post
the real.
you can
Grease.
post whichever one you want, but yeah.
Oh wait, no, sorry. I'm the Greasy Grease on Facebook. I'm the real Grease on Instagram. I keep forgetting that.
So if you want to reach this show, you can email us. This is my bourbon shop at gmail.com. You can also hit us up at my bourbon shop on Instagram and Twitter. If you use
and you've got some sweet teas, bro.
yes, we do. Yeah. If you wanna
If you're
check
looking
out
for some bourbon merchandise, you got to hit up Perry's shop.
yeah, if you want to check out
stuff.
the shirts and everything, it's not just shirts. It's coffee mugs and art
Some would
prints.
call it
and-
paraphernalia.
Look, I just want to say I'm feeling a little greasy tonight. This is the greasiest.
Me too, Perry.
This is the greasiest I've
Me
been on the
too.
podcast so far.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah, I'm trying to struggle through.
It's making y'all better men.
Anyway, so this is my bourbon shop at gmail.com, at my bourbon shop on Instagram and Twitter. Bourbonshop.threadless.com if you want to go and check out. We actually have a Bourbon Podcast shirt up there if you would like to go ahead and buy that. If you want to hit me up on my personal accounts, I'm pretty much PRitter1492, like all across the board, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments, let us know. We'd be happy to reply to you or answer those questions on air.
And leave some 5-star reviews for Perry.
Please review.
Yeah, guys, it's
Please
real
review the
simple
podcast.
on iTunes now. If you go, so here I'm going to explain them for you, Perry. Is that
Please
if
do.
you go
Please
on
do.
your iTunes app on your iPhone, it's like you go look at the show, and then you have to scroll down, like get past the episodes, but they're a newer
You can't
podcast,
just
so you
be
don't have to
apathetic about it.
Yeah, you scroll down past the episodes, and then it shows like what their rating is, and then you're gonna say write a review. You're not just gonna click the star amount. You're gonna click write a review, and then you're gonna click the 5-star at the top, and then you're gonna put in your review, and you're gonna say how much you love the show, and that's what you're gonna do for Perry, because Perry's our boy.
Yeah. Y'all
You
quit
just-
being terrible.
You just warmed my heart there, Will.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give people instructions. They need it.
Yeah. Now, I got to ask you before we wrap everything up, because I got some flack for promoting my show in the Podcasters group. Is it okay to promote this episode?
Yeah. Oh,
Perry.
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and tell you something, Perry.
Joe Bourbon may get salty.
Our listeners are dedicated and they get salty.
I can get over salty. I just can't get over.
We are happy for you. We are in your corner. This is a community. We will never ever say anything bad about any other bourbon podcast. We will never. I mean, this is we benefit actually from cross collaboration and marketing of it. I mean, like, this does nothing but good things for both of us. Well, I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Perry, I just appreciate everything you do for our country. And, if there's any point in this show that you have not understood my gratitude for making me pop the number one bottle of whatever it's called, Bourbon Authority.
Greeze. Greeze, man.
What do you mean?
I'm too greasy for this.
I opened a bottle I wasn't supposed to, but I did it for you. I appreciate everything
Greeze.
you do.
That's my Greeze right there.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Let's wrap things up real quick. Greeze and Will, thank you all so much for being on the show. I really appreciate
thanks for having us, Perry.
Dude, love it. Anytime,
yeah.
man.
Go check them out. The podcast on where are you all at? Because I know it's iTunes for sure, but are you all anywhere else?
iTunes, Google Play.
Stitcher.
You can actually listen directly on our website. Yeah, Stitcher. If you go to thepodcast.com, you can actually listen right directly on that if you're just on your web browser. I mean, if you're working the 9-to-5 database entry and need something on the back end to keep you entertained, just go to thepodcast.com and hit the play button, and it'll cycle through all of them.
Awesome. Well, guys, again, thank you all so much for being on the show.
I think at this point we're good. I mean, we'll probably have enough content on there to at least get you through a week. If I that's just me.
I'm gonna break this up into 10-minute episodes for the next few weeks.
There you go. Yeah, that's how to get your numbers up.
Guys, thank you all so much for being on the show. I can't wait to have you guys back. This has been a lot of fun.
Man, we appreciate it. Thanks for having us, Perry.
And check us out on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Hit us up too. This is mybourbonshop@gmail.com. Thank you all so much for listening. Give us a rate and review on iTunes or whatever you're on. We can't wait to drink some more bourbon with you. But until then, my name is Perry, and this is My Bourbon Podcast.